Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Truth Report Live. This is where we every single week at 12 p.m. on a Tuesday go live and we talk about relevant topics in South Africa. As you can see, I've got Rob Herstoff, I've got the Sam at Sambit, and I've got Kuhle Maseko that has joined us. I'm Ronaldo Goat. I'm going to first ask Kuhle, how's it going?
How's it, Ronaldo? Hope you're well. How's it, Rob? How's it, Summer? Summer, great to see you after your fiery comments last week about me supposedly being Nigerian. I'm not, please. I am not, but I'm all wow.
Sama, how are you doing?
Hey man, I'm just doing great. I mentioned earlier before we started, the Matlala Commission just has citizens walking down the street like me smiling because at least something is being done. The recent revelations are crazy. And I know Kuhle's secret and Joe Emilio's the guy organizing these live streams. He didn't include me the first time, so I had to poison him so that I got his spot today. And yeah, here we are, man. What's up, Rob?
Good.
Yeah, well, everybody's like some people in the comments are saying, Rob, you're looking too thin, you're not looking healthy. Stop it, because I just had 3 days of flu and the fever broke last night and I weighed in at a crispy 86.7 kilograms, the same as my temperature actually, which is pretty good. So I'm actually a bit slim at the moment. My wife goes, there's no chance you're going to keep that off.
But well, yeah, I mean, look, Ozempic has that effect sometimes, eh, Rob? I'm joking.
Yep.
So welcome everybody, and we are streaming across various platforms. So if you are watching us on X, on Facebook, or on YouTube, please subscribe. Please share this video far and wide and tell more people about it. I also, before we went live, we saw that myself and Rob are at the top in the stream or in the picture, and Kuhle and Sama's at the bottom. So before News 24 IOL wants to report of racism, I promise you this is blame the program that set us up like this.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for us. Sama, you spoke about the Matlala Commission, but last week Matlala, Vusi Kat Matlala was at the ad hoc committee at the Max prison where they interviewed him. And I'd actually like to start with Rob with regards to this. What is your take and what is your opinion on what Vusi said with regards to that process?
So I called a buddy who knows exactly what's going on, does not want to be quoted, and he told me the following about Kat. This could be breaking news for those who don't know. Kat grew up in Mamelodi on the streets. He didn't have parents, so his mum, I think, was an albino. She was raped, a terrible story. He reconnected with her later in life, but she died soon after. He had a very tough upbringing, and he basically worked for a very infamous taxi boss called Mswati. Mswati was the taxi boss from Swaziland. And basically, Kat worked for him. And Kat used to do a lot of work for a lot of other people. And Kat knows exactly what's going on. Julius Malema used to drop off money at the Mswati's house, protection money. And here's an interesting thing. Julius Malema's wife and Kat are cousins, like in the what do you call it, the cultural sense, not direct cousins, but they do share names. So they are distantly related. And Kat and Malema are deeply, deeply linked. Okay. Separately, Fikile Mbalula and Bekiteli and Julius Malema spoke at their brother Mswati's funeral in 2024. When Mswati, the taxi boss, died, they had this mega funeral. And Fikile Mbalula spoke, Bekiteli spoke, and Julius Malema spoke. Makes you think, doesn't it? Why were they there? Why were they speaking? So Malema, in the Mhlanga Commission, did a lot of snowball soft questions on Kat. What he was really doing was doing PR for Kat and not cross-examining. Why? Kat can sink Julius Malema. Kat did a lot for Julius, and Julius did a lot for Kat. And Kat was basically doing security for Julius's wife. So Julius is scared of Kat talking openly because he can sink Julius big time.
Mm.
During the Mkonazi press conference, Kat was at Sun City Prison, you know? And he basically said Becky Tseli was giving instructions to everyone. And my buddy said it's a sort of Zulu war. You know, Mchunchu's involved, Becky Tseli's involved. They're all guilty. And this is a Zulu v. Zulu war. But Julius is definitely worried about what can come out of the discussion. And Kat's interestingly holding himself very, you know, elegantly and speaking openly and prominently, which is scaring the hell out of people because he's in jail already. He knows he's doomed. So he's going to make sure that everybody owes him favor, will deliver the favor. So that's kind of what's going on in the background. Fascinating to hear that.
I mean, that is definitely a reveal of what's going on behind the curtain. And I mean, you could see also just I would say the arrogance, firstly, and rocking up in a full-on Burberry outfit that I think was probably more expensive than everybody's clothes combined in that sitting. And then also just being a little bit arrogant in, you know, understanding the question, but just consistently asking, sorry, repeat yourself. I'd like to get your take, Kuhle, and then Sama after him. What is your take with regards to this ad hoc committee and some of the revelations? I know Glynis Breitenbach went really hard and her video is trending now on the way in which she dealt with it. But what's your take, Kuhle?
Well, firstly, I guess this just goes to show how crime has just gotten to the point where people actually not just look up to criminals, but they are so brazen that they can just come out shamelessly, like you said, Ronaldo, that they were Burberry, full on Burberry, no shame whatsoever. He's got a smirk on his face whenever he responds to questions. He is arrogant. He believes that he's equal to members of parliament or to society in general, which is not the case. The fact is you are a criminal and you should be treated as a criminal. Why aren't the Thabo Bestas and the Matlalas wearing orange overalls? Why are they allowed to go in wearing their Guccis, their Burberrys? They are literally flaunting their loot to us, the citizens who watch at home. And it's absolutely disgusting to see how South Africans have reacted to the whole Matlala saga. To say that, oh, they are treating him like an animal. Oh, look at him. He looks like such a sweet man. A sweet man. A guy that robbed, that has got a case of attempted murder. A guy that was infamously known as John Wick in the streets of Mamelodi. A guy that was part of the business protection services in Mamelodi, demanding ransom from innocent businesses. People start spaza shops and they must take out from their profits they have to take out from their profits what's called a protection fee, right? To pay this guy. And all of a sudden, amnesia, say, oh no, look at this poor man. He's not poor. The bottom line, he ransacked the country with the ANC and the cadres. And here we are watching him flaunting his Burberry, flaunting. I mean, every day we've had this ad hoc committee at the Kgosi Mampuru CMAX prison. Every day Matlala comes out, he comes out wearing some designer clothing. And it is absolutely disgusting that, number one, the Department of Correctional Services don't correct this. Why are they allowing this evil man to flaunt his loot? Thanks, Ronaldo.
Before we get to Sama, I mean, you raise a very valid point with regards to how he first presented himself, and then the fact that he exposed so much of how broad-based Black economic empowerment has led to fronting, and also the fact that he has a criminal record. And as soon as he comes out of jail for, you know, being in possession of stolen goods, he starts a security company that gets funding and gets a lot of support, you know, from people that eventually leads to him getting tenders from the government. That speaks a lot about the the verification of documents, verification of criminal records before you do business with government. Sama, what is your take on that?
Right. So the story of Ket Matlala is very interesting because for the average South African, Ket Matlala's story is this alleged ruthless, ungrateful, impartial drug kingpin who found himself in a 360 million rand tender and is now in prison and is being questioned. If you actually look deeper into his story, you see the story of an individual who was first neglected by society and has been let loose as the monster he always was. I mean, it's easy to blame Matlala for all the crimes he's done, but at the same time, should we also blame the people who were watching him the entire time? I mean, I'll give you an example. Over here in central Johannesburg, things have gotten so bad. So in places like your Hillbrow, your Yeoville, even in the smaller parts of the Western East Rand, you'll see police cars pulling up at illegal foreign nationals' little shops and spaza shops collecting their daily bribe. It's a regular thing. The kids walking home from school can tell you the same thing. They'll always see a police car having its sirens on, acting like they're about to go arrest someone and save the entire neighborhood. But they'll just stop there, ask the guy, are you selling drugs to these kids? Yes. Where's our cold drink? They'll take it, and then they go home. The same story is with Matlala, but this time it's 360 million of rand involved. I mean, that's literally the same thing. So the same story happening with Matlala is the same story happening with all these other kingpins who are let loose. So the question of how evil Matlala was and how ruthless this man was is definitely a valid point. He should have been in prison much longer ago. But now it becomes a problem when you blame just him. There's a lot more people to blame in this situation. There's a lot more people who should be held accountable. There's a lot more police officials who should be arrested and who should be wearing the same orange overalls we all say Matlala should be wearing. You have all these people on Twitter from all sides saying Matlala should go to prison. Matlala's a monster. And yes, he is. I don't dispute that. He should have been in prison 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The moment he started working for the taxi boss and was smuggling drug money, that's when he should have gone to prison. But the other people who should have also gone to prison were the people that kept him safe the entire time, the people also organizing those heists, the same heists he is known as infamous for, and the same people who are on his payroll. We recently noticed yesterday at the Matlala Commission that Matlala slipped in a little small detail. And that small detail was that he made sure that Kuhle and Senzo Mchunu, two of the top cops in South Africa, besides General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, of course, were on his payroll. If that doesn't tell us that there are many people who should be in jail and are not in jail, then I don't know what will. We literally live in a world that is worse than GTA 6. And GTA 6 is terrible. And if you live in a nation that is worse than a game that hasn't even been released yet, you know you're in deep cow dung. We live in a situation where Ket Matlala is the only one who is being held accountable for all these great crimes he's committed, but we're single-handedly ignoring all the other people that actually helped him to get to that spot. I can talk about being a great businessman, but I couldn't have done it without the help of others. You can never do it alone, whether you're on the good side of business or the bad side of business. Either way, you can't do it alone. So I'm actually a little disappointed in South Africa's justice system as a whole, because it was 4 to 5 p.m. They broke into Matlala's house. They arrested the man. They got his kids and his wife, people who have nothing to do with it, to get their heads on the floor and hands behind their backs. That was very traumatizing for them, and they didn't deserve it. So they got them to do that, while you've got Matlala's accomplices like Malema sitting in the ad hoc committee, questioning him like he's someone who's completely innocent, who's done nothing wrong. If I'm not mistaken, Malema's sitting there knowing that he has to wait for knowing that he has been proven guilty for the whole gunfire situation with AfriForum, knowing that he has to still be sentenced for some time in prison himself as well. It's completely ridiculous how we have these criminals interrogating criminals, and then we're put into a situation where we believe that he's the only criminal that should be held accountable. I believe this is one of the many things the ANC uses as a distraction for us to look away from what the ANC is actually doing, and that's protecting its officials like Senzo Mchunu being put on paid leave and protecting their officials like Kuhle. The man literally lied under oath. He said he never knew Matlala, and then Ket Matlala walked in and said, well, hold on now. Hold on. I mean, I understand I'm a kingpin and I'm supposed to protect my peers. But if you're going to lie about me regarding all of that, then I might as well start throwing all of you under the bus as well. Let's not forget here, Matlala's a victim in himself. He was the first criminal that was thrown under the bus. And then Bram Mokhotsi was thrown under the bus. And then Bram Mokhotsi lied about the assassination attempt. And now we're back at Matlala. Matlala is the monster of this time, just like how Mokgotsi was the monster of that time, just like how KT Molefe was the monster of the other time. They keep finding these scapegoats to blame. And Matlala is the only scapegoat who refuses to be blamed. He's saying, you know what? In fact, I do know Bheki Cele. In fact, I paid 500,000 Rand in cash to him in the form of a Woolworths bag. I also paid Senzo Mkunu 200,000 Rand in cash. And I made Bheki Cele stay in my house, rent-free. And that wasn't even enough for him because Bheki Cele hated Matlala so much, he claimed Matlala didn't pay him enough for the amount of protection Cele was providing him. So not only do you have a scapegoated drug kingpin, you also have a police minister that is so corrupt and so entitled, he thinks he's not getting enough bribe. So just like Kuhle Maseko said, it is completely disgusting that we have just one guy being blamed for all of this. He is being allowed to wear a Burberry outfit in the ad hoc committee, being praised like this celebrity, having psychopaths online pray for him being released. His cell phones were taken much later at the CMAX prison. He has many missed calls with Bheki Cele in that time. They delayed taking his cell phone. This entire story just shows us how desperate the justice system is to not be exposed. Because I have a feeling Matlala has only scratched the surface in what he knows, and they're just trying to press him like what Glynis did to try and get him to expose everything, because in the end, we want everybody who should be in jail to go to jail.
I'll go to Rob. I just want to, lastly, on this topic, ask you: do you think that his revelation on the police minister and the other people that he mentioned, the former police minister, do you think that this is going to have shockwaves around South Africa? Do you think there's going to be a lot more that comes out, the more people that are fingered into this? Because I see it as a domino effect that's going to take place, and that started right now.
It's a war between Zulus, is what I'm told. But the reality is, more than the Zondo Commission, this is corruption and evil that extends to the highest level. Clearly, Senzo and Bheki Cele are guilty as sin. Can you extrapolate that to Cyril? And then you extrapolate across the ANC, at least the last 10 years of the ANC, last 20 years of the ANC. I mean, I just wonder if the average voter, the non-urban, less educated voter, gives a damn. That's what my worry. The second thing I worry about is these commissions tend to be forgotten about in a year. And maybe that's what the guys are hoping. Reveal, pin something on Cat, throw him away for 5 more years, and everybody else escapes. That's my worry. I don't know. What do you think?
But before we get to Kuhle, I'll just say that it's very similar to, the Zondo Commission, in which we've got so much evidence of state capture. And yet I think I don't even know if there's actually one person that's been put in prison. So Kuhle, maybe just on that before we move to the next topic, what do you think will happen with this commission?
Well, it's exactly what it is. It's a commission. Well, what will happen is Chief Madlanga will compile reports, and then volumes of reports, and send them over to Ramaphosa. It happened with the Zondo Commission. Very beautiful books. Ramaphosa will then decide what to do after reading through those thousands of pages. I doubt he even reads through the first 100 pages, but nonetheless, that's what's going to happen. I don't see anyone going to jail. If someone can tell me, name one prominent person who landed up in jail after the Zondo Commission. We know how much the Zondo Commission costed South Africans. We know how much it costed us. Can someone name just one person? Just one. Let's look at COVID-19. We know of the PPE corruption. We know of the former MEC in the province of Gauteng, who was part and parcel of the PPE corruption, right? In terms of the COVID protection. And funny enough, his wife, Bandile Masuku, yes, now I remember the name. Bandile Masuku's wife is running for regional chairperson of Johannesburg. This is the level of corruption we've gotten to. The level of, it's insanity where we are. We've got someone who was found guilty. It said that you are part and parcel of this corruption. He still sits in the legislature, by the way, just in case people didn't know this. As well as his wife is a councillor in the city of Johannesburg who wants to run to be regional chairperson. And no one is being held accountable. Let us rewind even more. Do you remember during the FIFA 2010 World Cup when there were allegations of corruption around the building of the Mbombela Stadium in the city of Mbombela in Mpumalanga? Who has been arrested for that? I'll tell you who. No one. Surprise, surprise. Early Christmas gift. No one has been arrested. No one is ever held accountable. The thing about it is, even yesterday, we had the former city manager. I don't know what that lady's name is, but God help her. Did you see the level of, it's so ridiculous. People get to this Matlala commission. She chews gum. She scrolls on her phone while they're asking questions. How on earth do we think people will be held accountable if this is what the witnesses are doing, if this is what the perpetrators are doing, if this is what the members of parliament who are supposed to be asking questions are doing? I mean, look at Julius Malema. Julius Malema says, oh, Kat Matlala, first of all, I kid you not, this is what he said. You are a family man. And I think Sama Sambit said it. He says, you are a family man. Your kids were on the floor when the police came, to arrest you, and there were guns all over the place, blah, blah, blah. This is wrong. What should have happened? The kids should have gone upstairs. My gosh, Julius Pupo Malema, we are here to discuss a criminal, and you want us to show sympathy for that criminal and his kids, the kids that are benefiting from criminal action. The very same kids that are benefiting from his criminal actions. You want us to show sympathy for that. And what makes it worse is the MK. The MK keep calling him Groot Man. Do you understand what Groot Man means? It means big man. Someone that we look up to. So all of a sudden, members of parliament seem to be looking up to a criminal. Just tell me, this is a movie, guys. This is a movie. If it was up to me, I would say scrap the whole commission. Let us all just go to court. Thanks, Ronald.
I mean, that is ultimately what needs to happen, is the fact that we spend more times on commissions and allowing the criminals to, get their facts straight, keep people quiet, get rid of people that have caused issues. I just want to reference a comment that I saw that I think, as considering we're talking about broad-based Black economic empowerment and how a convicted criminal managed to get a 350 million rand contract from the government specifically to look after SAPS individuals. That is what blows my mind. But the comment here is, what is the general overall feeling of Black South Africans with regards to broad-based Black economic empowerment? An honest opinion, especially from the youngsters. Well, I think we've got two Black youngsters here. I know that I identify as a Black South African.
And I identify as a youngster. I
think mine is more realistic though, Rob. Just joking. But let's get to Sama, and then we can go to Kuhle. And then Rob can give his opinion.
I've got a comment.
Sure. Well, actually, this is a bit of a problem because it's funny how you asked me about BEE right after I've been called a coconut and an Israeli agent. So this is going to be a very awkward situation to answer. But nonetheless, as a South African who looks in the mirror every day and sees what he is and knows what he is, I think I can say BEE was never started for Black South Africans. It was a front that was actually started to enrich the elites, to enrich the elite Black South Africans. And as a result, it actually has. So you've got individuals like your Cyril Ramaphosa, your Patrice Motsepe, your Vusi Matlala, good side and bad side, whether Cyril's on the good side or bad side, you decide. You've got individuals like that whose net worth has multiplied by 4 times, 4x the amount, even 5 times the amount since BEE became a thing, right? Which was in the late 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. So things like that were started to really enrich them, while Black South Africans were being fed this idea that they would be enriched as well. It's either you wanted to join the bad side and become a entrepreneur yourself using this, or you'd become the goody two-shoes, calling everything out like myself, being left broke and battered while the elites did what they had to do in order to get to the top. So if you actually look at the history of Black economic empowerment as well, there's actually very few cases of a South African being saved by something like that. Can I ask everyone something? So everybody in the chat and everyone listening to me right now, why doesn't anyone have a memory of a South African that grew up in a township, struggled hard? Let's say like Matlala, another victim of society. Mother was raped, grew up in the streets, started a business with BEE, was a goody two-shoes, and ended up being a billionaire. Nobody has a memory of that. Nobody has a memory of their good business being funded. No, everybody has a memory of someone with some element of corruption getting some help from BEE. This was obviously a front to fund them. This was by no means supposed to benefit Black South Africans. The idea, don't get me wrong, the idea of BEE was good. So this was, according to them, meant to correct historical injustices, right? For some of the disadvantaged Black South Africans and even South Africans of racial minorities. What some people don't understand is that BEE was not only for Black South Africans. It was actually initially supposed to be for some South Africans of racial minorities. So like the Indian South Africans, colored South Africans. You'll hear many cases of Indian South Africans having a BEE certificate. Whether they've gotten any money from them or not, that's their problem. As long as they have the certificate, BEE thinks they've done the job. So that was what BEE was for, to help these people. But then along the line, you had the rich Black billionaires who were nothing but petty politicians at the time, who grasped onto the thing, corrupted it as much as they could, and just like the ANC, BEE completely descended into chaos. And it became one of the many things that was draining South Africa of its money. Soon, BEE is about to give millions of dollars to the very few Black South Africans who benefit from it, who are also rooted in corruption. If that doesn't tell you what BEE was made for, then I don't know what will. And, you know, that's literally what BEE is about. So BEE was never about, oh, we're here to help the poor, impoverished Black South Africans and South Africans of racial minority. We're here to correct historical injustices because that's the type of people we are. It was never about that. BEE was made to enrich the very same politicians who started it.
I can't hear you, Ronaldo.
Ronaldo, can't hear you.
Fine now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now we can.
Apologies.
That was a relief for a bit.
Yeah, sorry. So I just want to hear from Rob quick with regards to the entrepreneur aspect of this, if that makes sense. So I would like to get... Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you can finish. It's just, what is your take as an entrepreneur or as a person that could look at foreign investment in this country? How does Triple BEE look for the international community?
So two aspects here. I had a lunch with Julius Malema. Only one of only two times I've ever met him. It was in London, and he said something at the lunch that was fascinating, and I've said it a few times. He said, and this was 12 years ago, he said, BEE is a joke. It's just enriching the people that really oughtn't to be enriched. What you should do, if you're going to give away a third of your business, is give it to your employees. Give it to your previously disadvantaged employees. Then they're aligned, they have a piece of the business, and you have the same goals. And I thought, 100% right. That's the intelligent way to do it. But yet, you know, Mossen Goshang, Patrice Motsepe, all the boys get this. You know, William Gumedi's amazing work, Professor William Gumedi, was on Black enrichment elite, the 100 people that took R1 trillion out of the economy. And I got interviewed by DJ Spoo. DJ Spoo interviewed me, and he ambushed me because as I sat down, he said, "Oh, I've got a guest I've invited, Penwell." And I love the Black Pen, but he and I are having handbags at dawn at the moment because I called him a black racist on a Gareth Cliff show because he just goes all over the place. And he did say some very anti-white stuff, which I thought was inappropriate. And he's still very grumpy. Warren Stock was going to, you know, have the sort of make-up sex meeting between us, literally, figuratively. And Penn turned it down. He said he's still quite raw from the engagement. I mean, come on, Penn. Anyway, I got ambushed by DJ Spoo. But in that back and forward discussion, I said to them, I said, do you still need BEE? And DJ Spoo said, yes. And I said, but it doesn't work. If we found a system that did work for broad-based, previously disadvantaged to uplift people, how long do you still need that for? And he said, for as long as possible. So there's still that sort of entitlement view, like we can't compete view from some people, like DJ Spoo. He doesn't think he can compete. And it's very sad. You think after 30 years, of apartheid being gone and not just an even playing field, and a playing field that's definitely favoring not the white guys, he still can't compete. And I just think there's something wrong if that's the case. So those are the 2 points I wanted to make.
And just from my side, before I get to Kuhle, there's a clear indication that, people consistently say that broad-based Black economic empowerment and the 145 race-based laws is to redress and transform South Africa. But my question is, where is the redress? Where is the transformation? We have the higher unemployment rate now than at the height of apartheid. We've got more race-based legislation now than at the heart of apartheid. And that is not me condoning apartheid. That's saying we had a terrible system and we are doing worse than that terrible system. So, Kuhle, what's your take on this?
Well, I think the best place to start from has to be looking at, well, firstly, just understanding no amount of social engineering leads to prosperity. I just need to be very clear on this. BEE was not invented in South Africa. The idea of BEE actually a country called Malaysia when they had their new economic policy. That was after they gained independence rather from the Brits. And that was during a period where Singapore, which also used to be part of Malaysia at a point in time, decided to go the other way and say, we are going to open up the market. We are going to be free market. This was done by Lee Kuan Yew, for those that don't know. We're going to open up the market. We're going to make it accessible for both locals and foreigners to trade and to grow the Singaporean economy. Whereas Malaysia said, F that, we will think like the ANC. Well, actually the ANC thought like the Malaysians rather. And they said, we will focus more on ethnic groups and how does social engineering work. The bottom line is no amount of BEE will ever solve Black inequality, if there is such a thing. Let's look at BEE for what it is. It has resulted, according to Professor William Gumede from his BEE report in the year 2008 and 9, he said that BEE has resulted in 100 elite politically connected families benefiting close to 1 trillion rand. It has also resulted in the loss of 4 million jobs. Understand this? 4 million jobs. 4 million jobs, which most of them happen to be Black people, the same people it was meant to benefit. I mean, I can't make this stuff up, but that's the ANC for you. Let's look at the new BEE legislation, which actually the new amendment rather that came in this year, which speaks of how your company should reflect the social makeup of the country. Now, and I spoke about this on Johan Ellis's platform a few weeks ago. I said to him, we did a study, I did a study, my show 10 Minutes with Kuhle, as well as my own party, Democratic Alliance, did do a study. And we found out that about 220,000 white males in Gauteng alone will lose their jobs because of this new amendment to the BEE legislation. And let me explain what that means. And this is...
Give me that number again. Kuhle, what? Give me the number again.
220,000 white males. In Gauteng alone. We're not even counting the females, or women rather. We're just counting men in Gauteng alone. Now, understand what does the new BEE amendment or legislation state. Now, I'm going to explain this using maths. Let's say I've got a company, and for the sake of making things a bit more simpler to understand, I've got 10 employees. Out of those 10 employees, I've got 5 white guys, I've got 2 Black dudes, and maybe 3 Indians. The new BEE amendment states that there needs to be an alignment to the country's social makeup or racial makeup. That would mean I would need to get rid of at least 4 of those 5 white guys. Or I must hire more people. That means I must hire more Black people. It's either I get rid of the white guys or I just hire more Black people. Now, I'll get rid of the 4 white guys. I would have to at least get about a minimum of 7 Black people. A minimum of 7 black people, and at least maybe one Indian, one colored, and one white person. And then your business would be BEE compliant. And mind you, if you're not compliant with this, whether you want the BEE certificate or you don't want the BEE certificate, it is said that the government will still take a percentage of your profits that you make. So the government is forcing businesses to comply with a ridiculous legislation. It is outright ridiculous. I mean, no matter how you view it, I always ask people on the streets, I say to them, especially black South Africans, I ask them, I say, you defend BEE. What have you benefited from BEE as we speak? Many of them can't even answer. You are unemployed. You sit in the township. You are waiting for a 350 grant from Ramaphosa. The bottom line is you have become slaves of the state. Black people are becoming slaves of the government. You've got to look at it. The numbers say it for themselves. You are born into a poor township family. You need to get an RDP. That is the government. And you're going to say, thank you, ANC, for my tin house. I've got an RDP. After that, because your parents can't afford food, you go to school and you're on some nutrition program that has got a tender body that does not deliver food at times, sometimes does not even deliver the correct meals. This is the process of being a black child, so-called BEE system, right? It does not deliver the correct meals through the government education. Cool, you're done. Now it's time for you to go to varsity. Oh gosh, because you went to a cuck school, you didn't do maths and science, chances are now you're going to become studying music or, I don't know, art at varsity. You aren't even going to match what the economy wants or what the market wants. And you are using our tax money through NSFAS. You don't even pay back NSFAS. The bottom line is it's the government that has programmed black people. And I'm going to be very sorry to say this. The government has programmed black people to think that everything's for free. There's NSFAS, there's SASSA grants, there's BEE, everything's for free. You don't have to pay for everything. You don't have to. I'm sorry, I'm just a bit emotional about this. Thanks, Ronaldo.
I can see so. I can see you're very passionate about this, Kuhle. Just a quick shout out to Matthew Cohen PowerPod for a 35 Rand super chat. Thank you, saying great live chat, gents. Keep them coming. I would also ask everybody watching to go and check Matthew Cohen PowerPod out. Also a brilliant YouTuber that's focused on South African politics. Please go and support local. Thanks for that, Matthew. All right, so I want to just move on to Cyril Ramaphosa and the family meeting on Sunday. Now, this obviously comes a week after the G20 that was held in South Africa, and then speaking specifically about the United States not attending, the United States saying that they aren't going to invite South Africa, and then, of course, attacking pretty much people for spreading, according to Cyril Ramaphosa, disinformation in South Africa about what is truly happening in South Africa. So with those three things, you know, the G20, the USA not attending it, the USA not inviting South Africa, and then Cyril Ramaphosa talking about disinformation. What are your thoughts on that? Let's start with Rob.
So,
there we go.
Chris Wyatt did a podcast in the last 24 hours. I had flu, so it could have been 2 days ago. I might have missed it. On bad things are happening. The title of Colonel Chris Wyatt's is Bad Things Are Happening in South Africa. And his podcast starts with a shot in a conference room with Cyril and some pasty white guy in a really bad suit and tie combination, laughing at bad things happening in South Africa. The white guy says, bad things are happening in South Africa. And Cyril laughs. And I think that is fundamentally disgusting, their approach to that situation. You know, the number of people being murdered, the people who don't live life securely, can't walk home safely at night, the education results. I mean, that guy. And I actually thought, who is this disgusting? Look at his tie. What a pasty, awful, what a creature. There's no way he's married. And I asked, who the hell is he? And Joe Emilio tracked down who this dickhead is. And his name is William Bird, Billy Pufter Bird, from Media Monitoring Africa, a Soros-funded entity. And I asked, what the hell is he doing sitting with Cyril on Cyril's right-hand side? He is part of the disinformation police. This is a Soros-funded entity, a nasty, woke, leftist organization in Cyril's ear dealing with these matters. And they're laughing at bad things happening in South Africa. Billy Bird, you're a disgusting, nasty, leftist, woke, evil piece of you-know-what. And that's what I think.
I think it's astounding that somebody that's a director at Media Monitoring Africa is siding, because once again, you would think that the media would be neutral in all of this. But I mean, time and time again, mainstream media and affiliates have shown us that they are quite biased, reporting on Rob, reporting on Kuhle, Sam Sambit, myself. It's glaringly obvious that there is definitely a leftist slant, to put it lightly, that is taking place. Michael Zeman, thank you so much for the 70 Rand super chat. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let me get Sammer's take on Cyril Ramaphosa's speech, and then perhaps also the exclusion of South Africa at the American G20 and the United States not participating in South Africa's G20.
Right. So, first of all, Ronaldo, I don't want to be that guy, but Cyril's speech wasn't a speech. It was a rehearsed concert, because we've heard the same thing 3 years ago. We heard the same thing 6 years ago when he became the president. I said in a recent episode yesterday that Cyril was in factory settings in this video. This was Cyril Ramaphosa at his final form. This is Super Saiyan 4 Cyril, the Cyril Ramaphosa we all know and love, the Pinocchio we will all remember for years and years to come, the guy who shows up on the screen, and you know what he says? He says absolutely nothing. He manages to talk for 11 minutes without actually giving a proper point. So I wouldn't give that as a speech. I even ran a survey on my channel the other day. It was a public community post asking if everybody thought this was a speech. And they said, no, it wasn't, because this guy said the same thing year and year again. The only thing he said differently was about the Trump beef, because Trump's beefing with us. So we had to throw a little bit of some shot there, because that's how petty he is. He doesn't want to accept the truth. And the best thing he can come up with is saying something verbal against Trump over and over again behind Trump's back, and panic when Trump hears about it, and then wonders why we're banned from the next year's G20 summit. So when you have someone as dumb as that giving a speech, I wouldn't call it a speech. I'd call it a pre-recorded concert, a concert we've heard over and over again, which is not even that good, because we've heard it over and over again. And why was this speech made? The speech was made for 3 reasons. It was made for the G20, for gender-based violence, and for the USA's beef with South Africa. Right? Cyril doesn't want to tell you the third reason, but that's the number one reason why that speech was made. I'm telling you, if what happened on Friday was just the ladies wearing purple marching outside, none of that would have happened. You wouldn't have had Cyril Ramaphosa addressing the nation, because he doesn't give a flying ham sandwich about a bunch of ladies wearing purple marching outside because they're not heard. The last thing South Africa needs right now is a bunch of women complaining. Unfortunately, that's how Cyril thinks. He doesn't see gender-based violence as an important topic. He doesn't see a femicide as an important topic. He said that when he declared femicide a femicide in 2020. He declared femicide a state of emergency quite a while ago, and nothing happened. So why is everybody surprised when nothing happened again? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because the ANC doesn't see that as important. Okay, that's the first reason. The second reason he made this video was because of the G20. The recent G20 was a soapy drama. So this drama was even more than the drama we would see on peak Uzalo episodes in SAPC 1 in 2019, 2018. So this was when South Africa deliberately left the USA out of the G20 traditional handover. A handover ceremony, for those who don't know, is that very weird ceremony politicians do in a G20 or after a G20 meeting where they have to hand it over to the nation that will host it the next year. South Africa refused to do that against the USA, and that was very disrespectful. It was more disrespectful than them denying the very things we're responsible for, which is like the racially motivated attacks against farmers and land expropriation without compensation, the two things we've been lying about this entire year, right? So Trump saying bad things were happening in South Africa, there was not one thing he lied about, right? You can talk about the white genocide claims all you like. Bottom line is there are terrible things happening in South Africa. Fine. Whatever side you want to take from there is completely your problem. The main point is that's why South Africa made that speech. That's why Cyril Ramaphosa had to talk about what he spoke about on Sunday. He was addressing the simple G20 situation. And what you notice is he didn't really say anything. All he was talking about is that he acknowledges that America has a problem with South Africa and South Africa won't be bullied. If you think that's something he said, it's not, because he said that before in the actual G20 meeting. So this was Cyril Ramaphosa piling all these points, throwing them into ChatGPT and then reading them out for a speech on Sunday so that he could sound important. Fine. And then what you also notice is this was one of South Africa's many attempts, rather, to throw some very unnecessary shade at the United States of America. Very unnecessary shade. You already have a problem with perhaps the largest economy on earth, and the best thing you can come up with is throwing shade at their president again. Notice how Ramaphosa does this every time Trump's not watching. So every time he knows Trump is not watching, he will say something bad about it. When he was laughing about the terrible things happening in South Africa in that viral clip we all just saw now, nobody was watching. We all saw it after it was recorded. Right? When it's a live G20 meeting, when it's a live speech, Ramaphosa will never say something directly against America. He'll tease it, right? He'll be like a musician. He's going to do what we call sneak dissing. He'll be like, we won't allow other nations to bully us. Then that's about it, right? He's not going to say America sucks and that's why we're against them. No, he's not going to say what he really thinks, because he's this overly polished, overly rehearsed president who needs to whisper sweet nothings to us. So he's going to say something like that. The speech overall was a terrible example of what South Africa is, and a perfect example to what Cyril Ramaphosa has been and has always been since the very beginning of his presidency. A president that tries to impress anyone and everyone and ends up impressing no one. Because the thing is, you've seen this in the workplace, you've seen this in the classroom, you've seen this in society as a whole. The moment you try to impress everyone, you end up impressing no one. Because you're not standing at a pedestal. You're not standing on a point. Nobody knows whose side you're on because you're trying to be so neutral. You end up losing the sides of everybody else in the process because you're a robot. You're a bot. You're an internet bot. Nobody knows what you really think. You're just trying to impress everyone. And in the process, everybody just leaves you alone. Everyone just leaves you alone because, okay, this guy doesn't even know what he's saying, right? We're so confused in what he's saying. He doesn't know what he's saying. We don't believe this man because he doesn't believe what he's saying. And if he doesn't believe what he's saying has no soul. So we're going to leave him alone. So the overall speech, the alleged overall speech on Sunday, was just Cyril whispering sweet nothings once again to the people of South Africa. For those of you who didn't watch it, I envy you so much because I had to sit through that entire thing just so that I could make a video about it tomorrow, right? Like, this is one of those cases where you sit through something, you're done with it, and you wonder, why do I pay DSTV again?
Thanks for that, Sam. Before I get to you, Kuhle.
Ronaldo, yes. Why do we pay DSTV? Because I only watch rugby and cricket. That's it. I watch nothing. I mean,
that's else. On you. I've never had DSTV in my life.
Nothing. I watch rugby and cricket. And I need to find another way. And I'm going to dump DSTV, and which is
right. I mean, I used to watch it for the cartoons and all of that. You know, I used to watch it for the cartoons, but then that sucked as well. So then we stopped paying for DSTV.
Which were your favorite cartoons? I asked Ronaldo this when he and I had a chat. He and I, Ren and Stimpy, Ronaldo and Stimpy. But I'm like an era of Cat Dog and Powerpuff Girls and, you know, Cow and Chicken.
Yeah. That was awesome. That was awesome. The Powerpuff Girls are definitely goated. But I'm sure a generation like mine and Kuhle's would probably say Ed and Eddie as well. Samurai Jack also goes up there. You know, you want to throw in Courage the Cowardly Dog as well. That one was pretty awesome.
And Ronaldo said his was Swart Cut. Actually, no, that was his dad's.
Yeah, man, that's old. Hey, bro, your dad is old, bro.
Kuhle, what was, before we continue, what was your favorite cartoon?
I didn't watch cartoons.
What?
Yeah.
Man.
You can't vote for somebody that never watched cartoons. I don't trust people that didn't watch cartoons growing up. No, I'm just joking.
So that's why you didn't get any ladies when we were in Israel.
Moving right along.
Was life, says Matty Dixon. Scooby-Doo was life. Wow.
There we go. I see our local troll, Matthew Dixon. I'm not going to read out the comment because he's trolling and we've got limited time, but thanks for the 35 Rand super chat. He was having a little dig at Rob, but I mean, like I said, it comes from a good place. He's just a troll in a nice way. Always does it on my channel and other people's channels as well. Kuhle, before we get to you, I want to get to the point where Sir Ramaphosa used his address to attack South Africans that in his mind is spreading disinformation in South Africa. Now, News 24 and mainstream media has consistently peddled this lie that the refugee program is only open to white Afrikaans people. And they have been told to correct that time and time again, but they continuously drive that narrative. And then, of course, added to that, he provides no evidence in his speech to say or to prove that these individuals are spreading disinformation. He was obviously referring to Solidariteit's race-regulated poster in which they say that South Africa is the most race-regulated country on earth. He obviously focused on Donald Trump speaking about white genocide. And I think everybody here can acknowledge that there is no white genocide in South Africa. But mainstream media and Cyril is hammering down on that and not really focusing on the other issues that is being raised in 3 bills that is currently before the House and before the Senate that details, I think, 48 points of how the ANC have broken the trust of the United States. And all of that is factual. All of that has been gathered through the intelligence services, not through Elon Musk or not through Twatterboss or some random person on X. What is your take on especially that claim, and then what your opinion was of the broader discussion or the speech by him?
Firstly, who's Twatterboss, Ronaldo? Sorry, I don't
He's
know.
the guy that got
Rob.
doxxed by News 24 for just telling Elon Musk and Donald Trump what was going on. They had a big expose. They leaked his family business on purpose, and they pretty much doxed him to South Africa.
Oh, wow. Sure. Well, firstly, I think a great place to start is I think we need to find Ramaphosa something to do on Sundays, quite honestly. I mean, the man is so bored. He wants to drag us in with his, his boredom. I mean, quite honestly, if you are a sucker like me and Summer that had to sit and watch through that address, I feel sorry for you. But the address was divided into 2 parts. My buddy, Mike Sham, says it so well when he says there's the part of him claiming the G20 glory and, oh, well done, South Africa. You did us proud. And there's the part where he speaks about us in a nutshell. Now, let's start with the G20 part, the first paragraph, right? So he came there and he said, well done, South Africa, as if we had any part to do in that shit show. I mean, trust me, I was not interested. I did not even bother watching longer than an hour. But nonetheless, he says, well done. We did a great job. Even the French president said 1, 2, 3. The French, this guy, the Japanese delegates. Let me tell you what possibly happens, right? What happened was, as Emmanuel Macron was driving back to the airport, he probably told one of his assistants that just write something nice about this guy. Just look for something. I'll just sign it off and you can write it under my name. I mean, that is how government works. It's like me getting an invite to go to a birthday party. And I say, my gosh, look at this. The bottom line is everyone got the invite. It's like all of you buy me presents. And I send a message to Rob and I say, thank you, Rob, for the gift. The bottom line is it's an automated message. It was bound to come. I don't even know what gift you got me.
But he did thank everybody and their dog, though, right? I mean, everybody was thanked. Even the petrol pump attendants that put in petrol in his car. It was absurd.
Including the beggars on the streets. Thank you guys for not being there. You know, there were no beggars on the streets for like 2 days, guys. Does anyone take into account how South Africa looked over the past weekend? But nonetheless, be that as it may, let's focus more on the serious stuff, which was the second paragraph. And I actually had an interview with ENCA yesterday. They pulled me aside. I'm like, are you guys really sure you want to hear from me? I'm like, I don't think You want to speak to me? and Moloko Moloto, the journalist, says, no, we want to hear from you. We want to. I'm like, I'm part of the Truth Report, so I might not be so nice. Says, no, I want to hear from you. So nonetheless, I said, and I'll repeat what I said. I said, Ramaphosa is poking at the bear, quite honestly. And South Africans are being fooled. I'm reading through X, Twitter, through TikTok and all sorts. People are saying, yes, South Africa must not be bullied. South Africa must stand up for itself. Let me just remind South Africans of their childhood days. When you still used to live under your parents' roof, it was, you will do as I say under my roof till you get your own house. South Africa is the child in this situation. We should learn who we are. We should play diplomacy very well. Unfortunately, Ramaphosa, including Durko and the lady that has now gone on pension, thank God, which is Naledi Pandor, hope we don't get to see her again, think that South Africa will somehow find economic prosperity in the East. Let me be clear. Which country has China invested in that has become a first world country? Just please, just give me the stats. Which company, or actually not even which company, China brings their cars to South Africa. They kill the Western market, being your Ford, being your Mercedes and the rest. But those are the same companies that have got factories that build the cars here. Haval is not built here, it's shipped here. I mean, we've got to start thinking and asking the critical questions. The bottom line is, Donald Trump, whether you like him or you don't like him, you can call him a benevolent dictator for all I care, but he is growing the American economy. Look at his last term. Sometimes in life, all you need is a leader like Donald Trump. Quite honestly, you need that leader that will tell you that your dress looks ugly. Not that, can you please wear the blue one? He will tell you straight to your face, your dress is ugly. And that is what you need. The bottom line is, we've got a fiasco going on in this country where no one is being held accountable, where Ramaphosa speaks as if he has fallen from a tree. I mean, I think Katlego from Citizen Concerned literally posted a video today of Ramaphosa saying, you, Donald Trump, you keep your America and don't interfere in our business. If people don't know where that speech comes from, it comes from that wise old acre from Zimbabwe, or should I say Rhodesia? Let me not spur the comments. But Robert Mugabe, who told Great Britain at the UN Assembly, he said, you keep your Britain and let us keep our Zimbabwe. Well, let me tell you what, even Zimbabweans are flocking. They can't stay. They can't keep Zimbabwe. They are flocking into South Africa, flocking all over the world. The bottom line is, sorry, I'm laughing at the picture that just uploaded on the screen, but the bottom line is, no amount of communism, no amount of Western arrogance. You can't survive without the West. Why don't China tell the world that the Chinese economy grew largely because of American investments? When America went and built factories in China, that boosted the economy of China quite a lot. People don't mention these things. Look at countries such as Japan, countries such as Vietnam. Their economies grow by Western influence. They're not being grown by Beijing. I don't even think Beijing has its own form of PEPFAR. So good luck, South Africa. And thank you, Donald Trump, for not inviting Cyril Ramaphosa to the G20. I mean, for Cyril Ramaphosa, that was probably like his one holiday he was looking forward to, because it was going to be in the sandy beaches in Miami. You know, he was going to be around the girls, no vendor girls this time. It was going to be around American girls at the beach. So no holiday for him. I promise you, Ramaphosa travels so much. All his ministers could probably use his miles. That would save us so much money. If all the ministers in the cabinet could just use Ramaphosa's miles. The guy is never in the country. He's never here. So thank you to Donald Trump for doing this.
Also, a lot of people are saying, well, you know, you can't not invite South Africa because they are one of the founding members. But I mean, we all know Donald Trump, and we know that he can be very petty when he wants to be. So all he needs to do is reject the visas for the South Africans, and then they can't attend the G20. So it's going to be interesting. We have to wrap up, but there's one important thing that I would like to mention, and maybe if I can give 30 seconds to each of you just to give your take on this draconian Firearms Control Amendment Act that is now resurfaced. In 2021, this came, as a bill. And eventually it was shot down because, in essence, we are a very, very violent country. And the government wants to take your right to self-defense away from you because they are telling you to trust the police, which is laughable because if somebody breaks into your house and you phone the police, if you are lucky enough for them to answer, it'll take them 3-4 hours to come to your aid. So I just wanted to get your take on this bill in which the government wants to clamp down and in essence, blame legal firearm owners for the increase in crime in this country, when it's very clear that majority of the firearms used is either former police officers' firearms that were stolen or that they sold, as we saw recently with, I think somebody transferred over 2,000 firearms that were supposed to go for destruction, but then it was sold. So just quickly and very briefly, everybody's take on this Amendment Act. I highly suggest that people go to what is on the page or on the main screen right now, Free SA. Go and find out about this bill. But I just want to quickly do a roundtable. Rob, what is your take on this?
So once you disarm the population, you can line them up, put them in trains, send them to concentration camps, and there's nothing they can do about it. So our thin red line is to stay armed and stay protected. And if you look at the Second Amendment, the American Constitution, Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, one of the extraordinary sentences in there is to protect the individual against the tyranny of the state. It's fundamental.
Thank you. Kuhle,
disarm us, it's over.
Thanks. Firstly, Rob, I couldn't agree more with you. And I think it's just very important to remember that I've said this before on my own channel. This is the 3-step plan. First was expropriation without compensation. That has been passed. NHI, all these bills are being passed. What the government is simply doing is taking out the individual power of us as individual citizens. We won't be able to fight back. The bottom line is, God help us that it doesn't happen. But one day we could possibly have that dictator or that guy that's like, no ways. We are going to, run this country according to what I want it to be. And we won't have any form of weaponry, no form of guns, nothing. The bottom line is the government is simply stripping away individual rights. That's it. That's how I see things.
Sama?
When you were talking about that and the whole taking away guns thing, all I was thinking about in my head was la 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 la. Doesn't anyone else think of the Soviet Union's national anthem every time everybody hears about this? I mean, they're taking your land, they've taken your guns, they're giving you grants, they don't want to give you a job. What's next? We're going to get a hammer on South Africa's flag? Is there going to be a bill for that too? And then there's going to be imaginary people signing a petition to get that as well? I mean, come on. Who in their right minds would vote for a firearm of theirs to be taken away from them? Nobody. I don't care how evil you are. You are not going to vote for your firearm to be taken away from you. So that thing of saying, there's even some people agreeing with the fact that we should have our firearms taken away. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. These imaginary names, whose names you'll never hear about, who are also signing a petition, just like the not in my name thing, right? The only names you heard of there was Piet Krokam. Who else did you hear about there? They're coming up with these imaginary names so that they can have a valid reason to take your things away from you, right? The next step from here is God is government, because you'll have nobody else to rely on. They'll own your passport and everything. And then who else will be, who will you be going to church to worship? The government? I mean, they might as well include that. They might as well stop saying Nkosi Sikelel' Africa, might as well start saying ANC, bless Africa, because this is what it's getting to. They're taking everything you need to look after your family and protect yourself, right? That painting is so relevant. The one of an African leader painting the African continent there. They should just try and face swap there and put Cyril there, and then put the hammer there next to the South African flag where the Chinese stars are. That would be perfectly accurate to the direction we're all heading. And because we're the guys who are capitalist and still want to own the stuff we bought, we're evil, right? When Ronaldo Ho says, no, I don't want my firearm taken away from me, he's an evil racist who said the K word in 2010. When Roborsov says, no, why should my firearm be taken away from me? He's the white supremacist billionaire who wants everyone else to suffer under his rule. When Kuhle Maseko says, no, when I get a firearm, I don't want it taken away from me, he's the coconut that sold out to the Democratic Alliance. When I say, I don't want my firearm taken away from me because it's my money, I bought it. I'm the coconut who was secretly a Mossad agent trying to get everybody to be pro-capitalist. It's completely ridiculous. What's even more ridiculous is how they've shifted this narrative to make it look like we're the bad guys who want to own our stuff.
To conclude on this specific topic, this is the stat that I want people to remember. There's 170,000 police officers in South Africa. You can cut half of them already because they work on shifts. Then you can remove roughly about 30,000 that's administrative staff. So that leaves you with roughly 65,000 police officers on the street. We've got 64 million people in this country. So that leads to a number of one police officer for every 985 people in this country. We've got a crime rate of 63 murders every single day in this country, a violent sexual crime taking place every few seconds. Why would the government not allow law-abiding citizens to protect themselves and to protect their fellow South African citizens? That is the question that you have to ask. But I suppose that is where we're going to end this stream. I have got great news that Gareth Cliff will be hosting next week's show at Tuesday at midday. It's going to be very exciting. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please be sure to smash that like button. Please be sure to subscribe or follow on all the various different platforms. Keep on spreading our videos and our content because it's thanks to you that we are growing at the rate that we are growing. And I can promise you, we are giving mainstream media a lot of headaches and chest pains. So thank you for that. And just close. I'll give it everybody 5 seconds to wrap up. I'll start with Kuhle, then Kuhle, then Sama, and then Rob to end it off with. Here we go.
Well, thanks, Ronaldo. Thanks, Sama. Thanks, Rob, for this exciting session yet again. I think, Sama, just before we become the Union Socialist Republic of South Africa, because you sang the anthem so well, just want to share something, a very important thing, right? And I've been told about this, and I think we should stop this before it happens. So that socialist doers called Peter Kriel has been approached, by a particular party, right, to run for mayor of Pretoria. It's not yet been confirmed. But someone decided to approach that doers, Peter Kriel, to run. So we might not be too far from the Socialist Republic of South Africa.
Sama, I can see you shaking your head. You're ready for this.
Thanks. Dude, like, I remember saying this in our live stream, which everybody should watch. That's going to be tonight. Ronaldo host times the Summer Sambit. Don't miss it. I was saying, why doesn't everyone have a memory of Peter Kriel before 2024, 2025? There's no early picture of him. There's no viral video of him giving a speech at a school. There's no footage of him showcasing his talent, his alleged talent. And then all of a sudden, 2025, this kid wearing a fancy shirt with oversized pants talks online. And then he's invited into every major interview in every single major news channel, gets his own show, gets his own podcast, gets invited into every podcast with every black host. And then he's going to have his own podcast this year. We haven't seen that before Peter Kriel or since Peter Kriel. What do y'all think a plant is? Like, maybe it's time people needed to understand the definitions of these words. Mayor for what? Pretoria. What position does Peter Kriel stand on to run for mayor? If that's true, right? Remember, we're not going to entertain the allegation, but if that is true, What position does the man stand on? Dan Corder had 0 qualifications to get his own Dan Corder show at ENCA. These people are handpicked. And then they're like, yeah, this is the guy that's going to be our front for all the socialist, communist agendas we want to push onto the public. And what's even more sad is you have the black South Africans that will accept. Every time Peter Kriel talks, you'll have a black South African somewhere going, isn't that the child who went to Palestine? Hey, yeah, our future's bright. You know, it's completely ridiculous. But everybody else, we'll see you tonight at Ronaldo's live stream. Thanks for this chance. Thanks, everybody, for this. And thanks, Big H, for being there. Thanks, Ronaldo. Thanks, Kuhle. Let this be the first of many.
Thank you. Rob?
Christmas is coming up. I'm writing some poems. First poem that's almost done is the famous one, "'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse." But I'm doing a South African version. Okay, be ready for next Tuesday. I'll read it to you then.
There we go. So next Tuesday, Rob's going to give us one of his poems. You're going to be entertained by Gareth Cliff and other guests. Thank you very much. And also thank you to Joe Emilio for in the background giving us the images, making sure we stay on track. Greatly appreciated, everybody. Go and tell the truth. Go and spread the word. And please share our videos far and wide. Thank you very much. And here we go.